encourages lawyers not to have copies of everything, but
yeah, I mean, yeah, weird life. But finishing my thought, I think going electronic with our files is a really good idea. Maryland Legal Aid, bring it into the 21st century. And I think it's really good for our clients, who sometimes, our clients move a lot and it's hard to keep all of their legal document in the same place. I mean, I don't even move that often. Well, I do a little bit, but even, I lose my documents all the time. So I feel like having everything electronically and cloud-based is a good idea.
yeah.
And with that said, there's no real segue, so we're just going to go into it. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Legal Lunch and Learn, our weekly live show where we ask an expert your questions on a legal topic. My name is Cindy. I am a staff attorney here at Maryland Legal Aid. The co-host of the show is our director of the Community Lawyering Initiative, Megan McDermott.
Hi, everybody.
Our production engineer is Alec Chase, who is working in the background, making sure everything runs smoothly. And joining us today, a man who needs no other introduction, probably because we introduced him 3 or 4 times by now.
At least, I think it's his third, at least.
This is his third time. We should know everything about you by now. Of course, our today's topic is stimulus checks. So if you do have questions about stimulus checks, we'll talk mostly about the federal stimulus checks and a little bit of speculation about what's to come in the Maryland stimulus checks if you want to stay to the end of the show. So if you do have questions, make sure you're directing messaging us or leave a comment down below and we'll try to answer your questions as soon as we can. Of course, if you do have an immediate legal issue, you can contact us and speak one-on-one with an attorney. You can, we will put our contact info in the comments down below, but if you do need it, our email here is lawyer@mdlab.org. That's LAWYER@mdlab.org. Our phone number here is 443-451-2805. Of course, for those who do need captions, we also upload these videos to YouTube. So stay tuned for that. And of course, as usual, just because you take some legal advice from this show, it does not create a attorney-client privilege between you or any of the attorneys that you see or with Maryland Legal Aid. And again, help is just around the corner. Contact us if you do need legal help. So let's just dive into stimulus checks. Unless, Bill, you have come up with one more interesting fact that you would like to tell us.
Just that given COVID, I just thought that I'd bring this up that in a previous life, I was the bass drummer for the marching band in high school. I was a drummer. Then I've started using it a little bit more now that I can't go anywhere. So that's a interesting fact about me.
Are you a recorded artist? Can we find you on iTunes?
I don't think they were doing recordings back in the year.
Okay.
So back when I was performing in marching band, I doubt they were doing them back then.
Yeah. Have you kept up with it? Do you have drums at home?
It ebbs and flows when I have time. I had to get rid of my drum set when I moved into a smaller living space. So, but I try to do it when I can.
Yeah. So. Well, if you get your drum set back, we'll have you come in and record a intro music or intro drum beat to this show. But anyway, with all that aside, let's get into it. And it's a little bit of a straightforward topic, the stimulus checks, because I think everyone already know about it or they have received the first round. So let's just dive in. So to begin with, we have 2 rounds of federal stimulus checks. Can you tell everyone how much are we supposed to get?
So the first check should have been issued sometime in the late summer, early fall of 2020. Maybe a little earlier, maybe in the summer, somewhere between May and September. Sorry, time kind of stays still and flies by, but sometime between May and September of 2020, you should have received $1,200 for an individual making under $75,000 a year, $2,400 for a for a married couple, and I believe it was 1,800 if you were head of household for the first check. Um, uh, I'm pretty sure of that. So that would be the first one. You also should have received $500 for every dependent that was under $500. I mean, that should receive $500 for every dependent that was under the age of 17 in the first one.
Yep.
So if for the second one, it's $600 period, or $1,200 for a married couple. I don't think the amount is different for head of household. Actually, the amount was never different for head of household. I apologize. It was still $1,200. It was just that there was a larger income group. It was $112,500 as opposed to $75,000. That was the difference. But again, the only difference is now you receive $600 for a dependent as well. It used to be $500, now it's $600. Now the dependency rules have not changed. It's still under the 17. No adult dependents, no college age kid dependents are permitted.
Yep. Which tax return are they looking at when you're talking about how old the dependent is?
They are looking at the 2000 for the second stimulus. They're definitely looking at the 2000 for both of them. They're looking at the 2019 tax return if you filed it. For the first one, they looked at 2018 if you didn't file. For the second one, you just have to file. You have to do the non-filer thing because they're not going to look back to 2018 for the second one. For the first one, they look back to 2018 if you had not filed 2019 yet. But they're now assuming that everyone has because we're later and they were almost past the end of the year at this stage.
Yep. So that brings it to my next question. So I know a lot of people do get it automatically. I was one of them, even though it took until I think almost November before I got my sidetracking there. But so who, in terms of federal stimulus check, who gets them automatically? Who should not have to do anything? And
So every person that filed a tax return in 2019 will receive it automatically. Now the question is how they will receive it. If you did a direct deposit in your 2019 tax return, you will receive it the same way you received the direct deposit. So whatever bank account you put on your tax return is the one that you will receive it through. If you did it like I did, paper check, then you're going to receive either a paper check or a debit card, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. But that may take a little bit longer. There's been a lot of issues with the post office as has been documented. So it may take a little while longer. It's supposed to be issued all in the month of January. We'll see. The other people that will get it automatically is SSDI, recipient Social Security Disability, recipient Social Security Supplemental Security Incomes, SSI income, people that receive pensions and will receive it automatically if they don't file tax returns. The one exception, as I said, and anyone who filled out the non-filer form the last time should receive it in the same method that they received it the last time. So pretty much everyone, unless you didn't file a tax return and you didn't fill out the non-filer form. And we'll talk about there's a way that you can still get it after that.
But the non-filer form is now deactivated, is that right?
Right, yes. So you would have had to have done it already.
Yep. So when you talk about people who file taxes, what if you don't have a Social Security number? Would you still be getting a stimulus check?
It depends. So if the first time it was an absolute no, if you don't have if you have an I-10, if you file it, you will not get it. For the second time, if it's one I-10 if it's one I-10 person, like it's just you as a single person or you with one dependent or two dependents, three dependents.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I-10 is the tax number for those who don't know what that is, but go on.
It's for tax numbers for those people that aren't U.S. citizens or permanent residents. So that are basically U.S. resident aliens is the term that the IRS uses. So basically, if it's just an I-10 and either a dependent or just you single, you will still not receive a check. But if you are an I-10 recipient and you're married to a person with a Social Security number, you will receive the $1,200 plus any money associated with any dependents that have Social Security numbers So let's say you're white, let's say you're a non-citizen, but you married a citizen or a permanent resident, and you have two citizen children, which is not uncommon. Then you will receive 600. You'll receive $2,400 as a result, despite even though you're not a citizen. But if you're not married and you have a dependent, it doesn't work that way. Even if the dependent is a citizen, I checked this just before. Even if your child is a U.S. citizen, but you're not, if you're not married to a U.S. citizen, you still do not get it.
Right. So at least one person with Social Security
One
number,
adult must be a U.S.
one
citizen.
adult.
Probably
Yep.
the easiest way to do it.
Yep. So now let's talk about people who have not received their stimulus checks. Who or what organization can garnish your stimulus payments for both rounds? So let's go with
So
round
the
one first.
So for the first round, the only people that could garnish you was any organization seeking child support. For the second round, they actually eliminated that as well. In addition, they put in a special code that the banks received if you did direct deposit to try to avoid any kind of bank garnishment seizure if you had a judgment. That's what they're saying that's going to prevent it, because there were some issues the first time, even though they weren't supposed to, that sometimes if you had a bank garnishment that was active, the bank would still send it to the creditor. But they're supposed to have coded this in a special way that prevents that from happening. I haven't heard anything that there have been any issues, but that's the theory that the government is on, that they're by this code, they telling the banks you cannot touch this.
Yep. Hopefully the bank's lawyers are reading the codes too.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, obviously this is a new area of law, and this is a new. I mean, this is a new law in general. So
Yes.
definitely wrinkles to be ironed out. So what would you recommend a person do if they have not received any payment?
So the good thing is that we are now at tax time, or approaching tax time. It has been delayed a little bit due to COVID-19, but we are approaching tax time. And what you can do is you can claim basically on your tax form that you didn't receive what you were entitled to in regards to economic impact payments. So that you will basically receive it as a refund, an additional refund to whatever other refunds and credits you receive when you do your taxes in 2020. So if you didn't receive $1,800, you can say, I should have received it, and then that $1,800 will be added to any additional refunds, or if you owe, it'll reduce any amount that you owe. So it'll be the equivalent of having received it. So that's really what you should do.
Yep. Can they file a tax return even if there's no income?
Absolutely, people do it all of the time, and I usually advise people to do it because there's many reasons. If you ever want to take out a loan, or you ever need to apply for a loan modification, there's plenty of reasons to file tax returns, especially if you're a permanent resident trying to attain citizenship, that you should do it anyway. But if you haven't done it, then you can still do it. There's no rule that says you have to have income to file a tax return. You just don't have to file if you don't have income. So.
Yep, absolutely.
Or
And
taxable income, I should say.
Yep. So again, for those who are listening and who are not sure what to do next, if you want to talk to an attorney one-on-one, Maryland Legal Aid is here to help. So make sure you contact us if you do have questions. I know you kind of answered it earlier, but I just want to be very clear. Is there any way to get stimulus checks if you don't have a Social Security number?
The answer is no, unless you are married to a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. That is the only way.
Actually, follow-up question to that. So if you're married to a U.S. citizen or permanent resident and you file tax jointly, this is a lot of things together, would the citizen be the one to get the stimulus check, or would you be able to get one yourself too?
Now, assuming it's a joint bank account, it would go into a joint bank account. It would just go wherever the tax return told the refund to go. So if you did it by paper check, it would go by paper check. If you have a joint bank account, it would go into the bank account. It's wherever the tax return. They're not going to check the specific asset that the check goes into, just that there is one adult with a Social Security number that's on the tax return that's entitled to it.
Yep. So that's all the questions I have. I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Megan for some questions from the audience.
Hey, Bill.
Hello.
So I don't have too much either today, but just a couple of things. Could you talk a little bit about garnishment? So if someone owes child support, for example, or if they have a debt, can their the second most current round of stimulus checks, can it be garnished?
The second one is completely exempt from garnishment, even in the child support scenario. The first one, child support, everyone else couldn't get it, but child support still could. But in this one, child support arrears are also exempt. It should go to the person. So that's the way it's been written. That's the way the law is written. So in addition, as I said, for judgments, they were totally out, but that doesn't mean mistakes didn't happen the last time. Now, again, with the special coding, the banks should know that they can't touch this money, but that's what we've been told, that they should know that that's money that they cannot touch.
Okay. So anyone they suspect someone's taking the money, they should contact legal aid or a lawyer about that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
'Cause they're not supposed to do that.
Okay. So, and this happened quite a bit last time. A lot of people move every year. So if a physical check or a card was sent to the wrong address, what can the person do?
That's where I suggest the tax return. I think that's the best way to do it, because I don't think they're going to do a lot of, the checks. Oh, I sent you a check. If you
Mhm.
testify that you did not receive a check, and you don't have any documentation saying you should have received a check, and the documentation, which is the 1444A or B, would have been sent to the same address the check is. So if you don't have that and you don't have the check and you claim it on your tax return, you should be fairly safe that they should give you the money, and there shouldn't be any question that you got it and you were now saying you didn't get it.
Okay. So if folks haven't gotten their first stimulus check yet, whether it went to a wrong address or something else, you're saying the best option is to claim it on the tax return, it sounds like.
Right.
Okay.
Because you'll put your correct address on that tax return, so it will be sent to the correct place.
Okay. Okay, we just got another question in from the audience from Facebook. This says, are foster children still going to have trouble with stimulus payments because they are claimed as dependents?
Yes, unfortunately, adult dependents are not eligible, either in the first round or the second round. So if they're still being claimed by someone, they can't claim it. Now, the one way around this is if they file their own tax return next year and say they were entitled to the money, then it's likely they will receive it. But they have to file an independent tax return. Now, the problem with that is if the other person still claims them as a dependent next year, then there could be an audit situation or a letter from the IRS. Hey, we have this person who's claiming you, and you're filing your own return. What is the situation? So that is the risk. But if you want the money, that's probably the best chance of getting it.
Okay.
Now, again, it's not risk-free, but it's probably the best shot.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. And Cindy, I think that was all the questions that we had today. So you can come on back to chat about the Maryland stimulus.
So the one thing I did want to mention before we get into the Maryland stimulus is President-elect Biden, after tomorrow at 12 p.m., basically 24 hours from today, President Biden has proposed a $1,400 additional stimulus on top of what has already been given. So that may also be in the works. When that exactly happens, we don't know. But I just wanted to note that for everyone that is listening, that is likely in the pipeline for the next couple of months.
Yep. So similarly, if people have been on top of with the news or press release from Annapolis, there is a Maryland state stimulus proposal going on there. So, and I just want to reiterate, these are speculations. This has not been signed into law. It's not, we don't know when or if it's going to affect, but let's just briefly talk about the Maryland state stimulus. So, Bill, to start with, who gets them? I think it's very different from
It
the
is
federal one.
extraordinarily different and much
Yeah.
more limited. The reason is, I mean, there may be a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is, for people that aren't aware, states in the United States are not permitted to run deficits. So they have to balance their budgets every year. So they can't give out a large amount of money without finding something else to cut somewhere. So they have to much more limit how large things are. It is only limited to people that receive the earned income tax credit. The Maryland, I'm guessing they didn't say if it was the federal Maryland. They're pretty close. There isn't a lot of differences. Usually, people that get the Maryland also get the federal earned income tax credit. But I imagine it's going to run from the Maryland earned income tax credit. So it's people that receive the Maryland earned income tax credit, which generally is not most people that don't have kids, because to get over the limit for income for single people, it's like $20,000. So you have to be pretty, have pretty low income to qualify for the Maryland earned income tax credit. And remember, it's the earned income tax credit. So people that only received unemployment this year may not be eligible. Again, it depends what passes. There have been some thoughts on that, but just be clear, it's earned income tax credit means what it says, which is earned income. Also, you have to be over the age of 25. You have to be between 25 and 64 to be eligible for the earned income tax credit. So that's important to remember. So it probably knocks out most seniors, and it also knocks out most younger people as well. So basically, yeah.
Oh, sorry, do you remember the amount? Sorry, I should have written that down somewhere.
Oh, yes. The amounts that have been proposed, again, this is only proposed,
Yep.
is $750 for families, one check for $500, and another check a few weeks later for $250, and $450 for individuals, one check for $300, and another check for $150 a few weeks later. So that's what's been proposed. Now, again, that could change. A lot of times it starts here and it ends up at another level, but that's currently what's being proposed.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, we'll do another update when that comes about. And hopefully we can address some of the issues that, of course, is going to happen, even if it does roll out. Do you have an estimate on when this might be rolling out? We have a very short legislative.
Yeah, so the General Assembly, I believe, only sits until April the 8th, the 10th,
Yep.
somewhere in that range. And I imagine this is going to be an early priority. It's generally popular. So I don't think, legislation can take time, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of objections here. The Democrats still have a 2/3 in both houses. So I doubt seriously. If anything, it may become more generous. I mean, just guessing than it is now. But I would suspect that it'll probably pass sometime before the end of February. Again, I'm not an expert in the Maryland General Assembly, but that would probably be my guess.
Yep. Well, hopefully earlier, but I mean, we'll see what happens, and then hopefully we'll be able to have an update on that too next month. So thank you so much, Bill. That's all the questions we have today. And for those who are listening,
I did want to note just one other thing quickly in the state package that could be very important for people that are listening, although this may be covered in another session down the road. The state is trying to get rid of state and local income tax on unemployment income because so many people got unemployment either for periods or for the entire year of 2020. So please keep a lookout for that. Now, that won't eliminate federal tax liabilities on unemployment, but it will eliminate state and local taxes on unemployment as well. So.
Oh, that's actually really good news if that happens. Yeah, again, speculations.
Yeah.
Yep. And hopefully we'll be able to update that next month too. So thank you, Bill. Next week, we will be talking with our rent court expert, Douglas Nevins, to answer your questions about rent court and what's going on with evictions and everything that's happening right now in rent court. So make sure you like or subscribe to Maryland Legal Aid's Facebook page for updates. And if you do have questions, send them to me early. That would really help in terms of time management for us. You can email us, or you can comment on this video, or you can private message us. And if you do want to talk to us one-on-one, make sure you email or call for an intake. That's all we have today. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.